Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Pat O.
Pat. Oh, how was your weekend?
It was all fucking over the place. It was good though. It was very busy. For starters,
Yeah,
I watched the Fear Street trilogy on Netflix. Have you seen that?
I have not. No,
Do you have any desire to watch that?
I don't know what it is.
Oh, so Fear Street was a series of books that were written by R.L. Stein. So you know
Oh,
Goosebumps, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So Goosebumps was kind of like geared toward it was like the I guess they're both YA series, but if Goosebumps was like junior high, then Fear Street was more like high school age and a
Okay.
little bit older, a little bit darker. And Netflix produced a trilogy of films based on the some of the Fear Street novels.
Oh,
And yeah, the first film takes place in 1994. The second film takes place in 1978, I believe, and then the third film takes place in 1666. And there's a little bit of interweaving between them, but mostly they're all three of them are period pieces, which is interesting and kind of follow the tropes of the time. The first one is very Scream like. The second one set in 1978. It's at a summer camp, so it's very Friday the 13th Part 3. And then the 1666 one is basically The Witch. But overall, pretty good. You know, they really kind of overuse period music, which I don't mean like menstruation music. I mean like music of the time. You know what I mean? Where
okay.
like in the 1994 one, like they like someone gets in a fight and then like garbage plays. And by garbage, I mean the band, not like, or like Nine Inch Nails or something like that. Like they use a lot of needle drop stuff where every time something happens, it's punctuated by like a top 40 song starting,
Okay.
which kind of gets annoying. But other than that, I thought it was pretty interesting. But yeah, it came out about a month ago. So the film Twitter's been all abuzz with them. People's whether or not they like them or don't like them, and I thought they were pretty good. I give it a B plus. You know,
Have you read the books?
no, God, no,
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
no. I was aware of them as a kid, but I think by the time they came out like in the mid '90s, and at that point, I was reading, uh, like Stephen King stuff or conspiracy books or whatever. I wasn't interested in like Babysitter's Club horror books or anything like that. It's kind of what these were. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so no, I didn't read the books. Dug the movies, watched them with my kid. We both had nightmares after watching the first one, though, which I thought was totally crazy. So
Sounds weird. Well, I mean, when you watch scary stuff, I mean, that's bound to happen. But okay. All right.
yeah, yeah, we both
Cool.
woke up Sunday night with nightmares. Like I woke up having a nightmare, and then I heard him coming downstairs, and I was like, "Did you have a nightmare?" He's like, "Yeah, like me too." So very effective movie. But
That's
so
good.
that was that, and then on Sunday, I had the script read through for a film that I'm going to be working on called Torture the Flesh, which is not on Twitter, but if you're on Facebook, please check it out because it's all over Facebook. Torture the Flesh. It's being directed by my buddy Derek Brash of Chivi's Films. We've been friends for like 20 years now, and we work on each other's movies a lot. This is gonna be his fourth feature-length film, so he's like a real filmmaker that like makes shit. He does a lot of
Oh, he
yeah, not
makes
like
stuff, does he?
not necessarily like me who just makes short films, but he makes like TV commercials and music videos, and this is gonna be his fourth feature length film. It's bloody as fuck. We like I said, we did the script read through on Sunday, and I had read an earlier draft of it, and this was my first time kind of hearing the shooting script, and lots of girls getting fucked with knives. So if that's your kink, definitely stay tuned for this movie because blades do enter pussies repeatedly, and it's going to be gross as fuck. And I'm really excited to be working on it. So
I really like the name. It reminds me of it kind of reminds me of like the guinea pig series, actually. That's just how the titles were.
Torture the Flesh.
Torture the Flesh, yeah, it sounds like it would fit right into a guinea pig film. Have you seen those movies?
No,
What? You've never seen the guinea pig series?
No, is it about like real guinea pigs or
Oh
like
my god. Are you
humans being
serious
treated as
right
guinea
now?
pigs?
You don't know about
No.
this? Oh my god. No, guinea pig is like a gosh. So well the first two movies, I mean they're like I guess the typical torture porn and
Okay.
they have different I'm going to look up the titles right now. But they have different you
Are they
know,
American?
no, they're not. They're Japanese. And
Oh.
so they've got different themes behind them. So the first one is just like these dudes, kidnap some lady and they torture her to death pretty much. And that's all it is, the whole time they're, there's some eyeball stuff and they make her listen to like this really crazy loud noises and stuff on headphones for hours and hours and they do all fucked up kinds of stuff. It's called Devil's Experiment is the first one. The second one is called Flower of Flesh and Blood, and that's when it kind of got well. This one is what really kind of made it popular because Charlie Sheen had seen it. And basically, that one is like this guy dressed up like a samurai. It's really weird. He's dressed up like a samurai. He injects this woman with like some type of drug that makes it so she can't feel pain. And then he starts like doing stuff to her and, cutting off limbs and things like that. And, eventually she dies. But anyway, Charlie Sheen had seen it. He freaked out, thought it was real, and like made a big call for like them to pull this and how it was just disgraceful. And like I said, it kind of got really big then. And then the subsequent movies after that, more movies after that. I don't really remember the other ones except for I remember Mermaid in a Manhole, and it's more of a the ones after the second movie they're like I mean they're still really gross and they've got a lot of body horror and stuff like that, but they're definitely more story driven. And so Mermaid in a Manhole is about this guy who is like in the sewer and he finds a mermaid like in the sewer and like he takes her home and like he's also an artist, but she's like really sickly and she's like got all these like big like gross blistery things all over her body. So he's like using like her blood and like this is really gross and like the pus coming out of these things to like paint a picture of her. It's weird. It's a weird movie. They're weird movies. Anyway, but yeah, the like I said, the title it just sounds like something ripped straight from the guinea pig series. And you're talking about knives fucking vaginas. I mean, that sounds like a guinea pig esque type. I don't know. You should ask him if that's where he gets his inspiration from.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, definitely. We I've been lucky enough to get the job of script supervisor on this one, which is that's how I know Derek loves me, is because he gives me a job that requires me to be there on all days, even the days that involve nudity or
Oh,
knife fucking, and all I got to really do is just make sure that people say what's on the page. So it's like the
these are
easiest
actual knives going into vaginas, are they?
I don't think so.
I mean, you're there for it, so I don't.
Well, how it's working is we're shooting everything but the gore, including the nudity, in August and September, and then
Okay.
we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna come back in like November, December, and we're gonna shoot all the gore stuff. So that way, because there's some of the gore scenes aren't necessary for like the narrative for the plot. You know what I mean? Like the killer just kills some random chicks that he picks up at the bar. So if we get X amount of money, then we'll shoot like all 10 gore scenes. But if we fall short of that, then we only really need to shoot 6 for the narrative. You know what I mean? And these other 4 kills are kind of like fluffer kills. So
Okay.
there's a little bit of elasticity to the shooting schedule. But all of the non-gore stuff, which is just people talking, which doesn't require special effects, we're doing all that stuff first. That way we'll have like, footage for the trailer and everyone will be invested already. And we're getting the nudity stuff out of the way, because Troma's one of their number one rules of filmmaking is always shoot the nudity first, because that way if someone doesn't want to do it, you can replace them right away. Otherwise, if you shoot all their other stuff and then their nudity, if they decide they don't want to do the nudity at the end, what are you going to do? You already shot all their other
Yeah,
shit,
that's
right?
true. Wow.
So you make them take off their boobs on the first day, and then take out their boobs on the first day. And that way, if they do it, cool, you're in for the rest of the movie. If you're not, well, now we know we need to get someone else in here ASAP.
I
So,
love Trauma. God damn.
yeah.
I
So
love you
yeah,
guys at Trauma since apparently you listen to the show. Um,
But yeah, so that'll be that's cool because I haven't like, and I understand there was a pandemic and like everybody fucking slowed down.
Yeah.
But I just feel like I haven't done the filmmaker. I made one short film in 2020, and I usually average like 2 to 3. So like it's been a very long time since I've gotten to exercise those muscles or kind of do that stuff.
Sure.
And it's nice to get back into it. And it's also nice because it's not my thing, right? Like I didn't write this. Like I'm not the writer, I'm not the director. And it's good karma. Like if you help other people with their stuff, then they'll help you with yours. And that's always the relationship that like me and Derek have had, where like we always help each other with our stuff. But it's just nice. Like this is good. This is going to take up like kind of a lot of time. This is gonna be like a big commitment for me, and it's all being put into someone else's project, while at the same time, like me being on set, every weekend doing this stuff with him and like seeing how it goes. It's going to kind of get me back into that mindset, so then I can take all of those experiences, all of that stuff, and then put it into my own project later on.
Sure.
Because that's
Yeah.
how you learn to like do this stuff. Like you just work on movie sets and you're like, oh, this is how you make a movie, and then you go make your own.
Well,
That's how I
yeah,
learned.
absolutely. Well, and if they need any scenes where like maybe somebody's like listening to a podcast or something, I can think of a really good one that they should use.
Well, they did. We were doing the script read through on Sunday, and we were filling in for like random parts, and there was one for the radio announcer, and I'm like, I gotta have him do this. Oh, and they just, I haven't said anything about it yet, but we found out that Joe Estevez is going to be in it too.
That's cool.
So yeah, Emilio Estevez, Martin Sheen's brother. So Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen's uncle. So that'll be
So
that's
weird. Charlie Sheen twice in one conversation.
I know.
What do you talk about that guy?
Right. He's like his ears must be ringing. So yeah, that was this weekend. The other thing I did this weekend is I at least attempted to take like a social media break, which like I mean, I don't know how you are, but like sometimes like Twitter and like Instagram and all that stuff, it becomes like Farmville. Like one of those things that you have to check like every 2 hours. You know what I mean?
Oh
Because
yeah.
and it's just I get to the point where I'm like, I don't want to play this game anymore. This is stupid. I don't want to do this. And like I actually I couldn't do it all weekend because I unfortunately had to work on Saturday. But you know, actually just sitting down and like turning your cell phone off. And if I know this sounds weird, but like people out there, think about the last time you had your cell phone turned off. Probably been a very long time, or unless like the battery died or something.
Right.
And I just say like try it. It feels good. You can't even imagine how good it feels until you do it. So I wholeheartedly encourage you to like do it. Like turn your cell phone off for a couple hours, and like don't pick it up randomly and check it. Turn it off. And I tried to do that as much this weekend. I'm trying to like get back in that to where I don't always have it on and I'm not always like looking at it.
Well, that's my thing. If I'm around other people, I don't look at my phone. Like I don't owe anybody anything to look at my phone. So like, I'll have people like I'll be like, you should see my messages right now because I got so many goddamn unread messages, and it's not like I don't appreciate you guys and I don't love you because I do, but the fact of the matter is that I got a life, and and
Right.
I will get back to you when I can. But for the most part, like I said, when I'm around other people, I'm not one of those people sitting around on my phone. Like I don't do that. Like I try really hard not to do that. I'll like check it, especially because usually when I go out and socialize with my friend group, my kid's away. So I mean, I'll check it just to make sure that there's not an emergency, or something like that. But other than that, like I'm not sitting there on my phone. But I agree with you. I mean, I kind of had a heavier weekend, or not a heavy weekend, just a very full weekend. I saw a lot of people and it was good. It was a great thing for me. I needed to do that. Saturday I just kind of hopped around town and just, visited people, and that was nice. And then Sunday I went on a date with my best friend, and we fucking went and we picked sunflowers and got ice cream. It was amazing, and so, and I didn't look at my phone, not even once. And it was great. And then, later on when I was, kind of winding down for the night and I got back home, then I could check my phone and see what I missed. And it's always a shit show, but no, I agree with you. I think that people need to be more present. And, I've always felt that way, before I got, into social media, doing what I do now, I wasn't a big phone person. Like I wasn't on my phone and stuff a lot, just because again, you're not present. You're not in the moment. You can't really enjoy things to the best of your ability. But to the downside of that, I don't take a lot of pictures and stuff either. And, of like things that I'm doing, which I guess, I don't know. Does that really matter? I guess I'd like to remember the things that I've done. But on the extra downside of that, I'm also a 40 investigator and I miss out on a lot of weird shit that happens in my life. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. I had a moment where I did not miss it this time. I recorded a UFO.
What?
I recorded a UFO.
When did this happen? Why am I hearing this now? Because you wanted my.
I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. Yeah. So here's the thing: is that I see these things a lot, okay, and you never know really what they are, of course. I mean, because most of the time it's nighttime, they just look like weird lights in the sky, but they move weird and they act weird. But with drones nowadays, those things kind of move weird and act weird too. So you never really know what they are. But again, I see them a lot. I'm not surprised anymore when I see them. However, this was Sunday evening, and I had just left my house, and it wasn't night, and I was in my car driving, but I live in an apartment. I hadn't quite left the complex yet. I was still working my way out, but I see this light, and I don't know if it was two lights or if it was rotating, or maybe even two lights rotating. In the video, it looks more like it's rotating, but to the naked eye, I really couldn't tell. And but it was two white lights that were kind of going, back and forth and back and forth. However, just based off of the lights alone and where they're placed and how they're placed, it looked like a disc shape. And it looked like the disc shape was not, straight on. It was angled, and it's going through the air. Now, again, the first thing that I noticed about it was, the lights. With drones do have lights on them, but typically I've seen a lot of drones, in action, and they're usually the same as like the airplane lights are like red and green and whatever, but it's not making any noise and it's going fucking fast. And so I pulled over. Now, I did buy zoom lenses for my phone. All right, I have the iPhone 11 Pro. I film on my phone. It's beautiful at that. And but I bought a couple of lenses and whatnot for it, because I'm making a whole ass movie on just my phone. So, but I didn't have them with me. You don't have them with you during those moments. Why would I? I was leaving. I was gonna go do something completely unrelated, so I didn't have them with me. And but I had my phone, and I pulled it up and I started recording. But no, it was going very fast, and then out of nowhere, it just disappears. So I was like, oh. Okay. And like in the video, I said that I'm gonna go chase it. So I did. I tried to drive around. I tried to find it again. I couldn't find it. Didn't find it. But it's it's not even 30 seconds of a video clip of me seeing this UFO. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd have to say so.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, are you gonna post it online, or what? Have you thought about sending it to MUFON, or I don't?
I'm not. I'm not gonna send it to MUFON. Because I can't. They're not good people. I can't endorse MUFON. I might post it online. This is gonna sound probably shitty to say on the air, but I also might not post it online until I secure rights to it. I know.
Okay. Which means what? Does like put like a watermark on it or something, or?
I'm not sure. Well, probably. I mean, maybe. I don't think it would be anything big or anything like that. It's just that I don't want it to. I don't want it to be passed around the internet and people be like, oh, this is mine or what have you. I don't know if I'm going to use it in the documentary yet. So that's another issue that I have. I have thought about in the meantime posting it up because I'm finally getting ready to open up a Patreon. We're going to talk about those things in a minute. But I might post it there. Because I think it's pretty secure. I mean, people could screen record it. It wouldn't be totally safe, but I think there it would be pretty secure. I don't know yet. But I do have it. So it's, I have this. But again, me seeing these things in the sky, that's not unusual. But it is nice that I finally did, catch it. So that was super exciting. So that was one part of my weekend. Um, Another part, and I'm ready. Oh my gosh, this is big. It's big news, guys. You're gonna be super excited. Um, the merch shop is open. We now have on Wednesdays we talk weird merch. You can get the logo on a fanny pack if you want. You can buy just a t-shirt and you can wear it. I am currently working on different designs. You know, of course, Pat, we can talk more. I've got other things in mind that I think you'll like. I do have something that should be becoming available tonight. We're going to have some novelty type shirts and things as well. Right now it's just the basic logo. So if you guys, want to buy them, you should definitely buy them. The link is now, in the description. So very easy to find. But yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, due to the laws of our society, you're required to wear clothes. And if you're going to be required to wear clothes, we sell clothes for you to wear.
Exactly.
So just we're fulfilling a need that we don't necessarily agree with.
Right.
If it was up to me, none of this stuff would exist anyway. Unfortunately, it's not up to me. So if you have to play ball and you got to live by the white man's rules, you might as well wear one of our shirts while you're doing it.
Right. You might as well. I mean, you know what? They're pretty cheap. I price them so that I make virtually nothing. So
and I make less than that. So yeah, there's no child support's being seized from the hoodie sales. Okay, no fucking come after. On Wednesday we talk weird. I draw no income from the show.
Yeah, so there you
go. Do not subpoena my tax records.
No,
and haul my ass into family court for this shit. I'm not getting paid from the fucking fanny packs. All right.
Some of the stuff is super duper cool. Actually, I really like the tumblers the tumbler glasses. Those are they're like a pint glass. They're really fucking cool. I've definitely spent more money on our own merch, and I'm not even like there's so much more that's going to be posted. But yeah, I've spent way more money than I will probably ever make off of it.
I'm getting a hoodie because, as we know in the Midwest, we're heading into we're in the middle of a heat wave right now, so it's kind of ridiculous to think about it. But this is why you got to, you think about it in advance. We're going to be hitting hoodie season in a couple months, and you're going to want a hoodie, and we have hoodies for you to drape over your body.
Everything pretty much. I don't think I've made any kids clothes yet, but I guess I will. If you guys want that. But yeah, no, the merch shop is officially open for business, so you can
how do they find it?
Buy the shit. Well, I told you already, the link is in the description, but I'll tell you again, the link is in the description. It's the first link. It's the very first one. It's gonna be the first link. So that's gonna happen. That's gonna be really neat. So anyway, so there's that. And then, well, like I said, Patreon's coming, of course, Patreon exclusive things such as probably for sure videos of UFOs and stuff like that. I mean, that'll kind of be the thing. I made this announcement, and people, it got more attention than I thought. If you guys follow me on social media, then you know that I'm writing a Mothman book, and the book will kind of go in tandem with the documentary. You don't need one to enjoy the other. However, I just thought it would be a really good idea to go ahead and write one, considering how much information is going to be in it. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but I can tell you, and I can promise you, that it's something that has never been done before, believe it or not. There have been Mothman books, just not quite this type of book per se. So I appreciate every single person that has sent all of their love and support and awesomeness. I have so many people that have sent me artwork for the cover. I don't know yet. I don't know what's going to happen with that. That will probably go to my patrons. Actually, you guys will probably get to vote on the book cover, most likely. I've had publishers come at me wanting me to publish with them. And again, I love it. I'm so excited that you guys are so excited. I didn't think it was that big of a deal to people. I didn't think that many people actually cared about what I did. I just thought people liked me for my boobs, and you guys proved me wrong. So, good for you. Good for you, humanity. But no, I'm shocked of how well it went. However, be patient with me. This isn't coming out in a month. I haven't even started writing it yet. But it will be out next year. So, not this year, next year. I'm not going to make promises I can't keep. So, But it will be coming. Of course, I'll post updates as I go. And there you go.
You
Another
should do
thing.
Nano. You
Oh, go
should do
ahead.
NaNoWriMo with me this year.
I'm not a writer really, so I don't
Well,
think
then what? I love how you went through that whole thing,
about how I'm writing
and,
a book. I'm not really
and
a
then
writer.
I'm not a writer, so
It's the same. Like I'm
okay,
not. Like it's the same thing. I can't act, right? I don't know how to act, but I'm making a whole movie. But I'm making a documentary. The book is obviously it's what nonfiction, right? I don't even know the difference. Nonfiction, right? It's real stuff,
right, great,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so I don't know. We'll talk about it. But also my last announcement, and then I have the news, not my news, but the news. So as I'm sure some of you know, I host another podcast now, a Whisper to a Scream podcast with Brian Tremblay. We have now started recording. We recorded our first episode, and that is going to come out this week. It's actually about the black demon shark, which kind of goes hand in hand with the megalodon talk, but a little more centralized, a little more focused on a specific creature and its legends and whatnot. So you can check that out on YouTube at a Whisper to a Scream podcast, or the link's also down in the description. It's not the first one, but the first one's the merch. You can click on the merch link and buy the merch, and then later on down the line you can click on the other podcast and listen to it. And we will also be recording another episode of People Who Make Stuff with our buddy Tobias Whalen. So that should be coming out probably, I would say, within the next 2 weeks for sure. But we're recording that this week, Pat and I. So lots of new stuff, lots of great things happening.
And what is already out right now that our listeners can run to if they're so inclined?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know there's this one guy, and he decided to come out with a podcast about the show The Wire.
Right. Episode 2 dropped on Monday, so it's available right now. You can check it out if you're so inclined. And Vince and I are getting together on Saturday, and we're recording the rest of the episodes for The Wire, plus perhaps a holiday special. Plus, I don't know. We'll see. We're leaving it at that. We'll see how far we get on Saturday. But this is the one last thing that I wanted to talk about real quick, because me and you have not talked about this. Starting August 1st, I am going to have to be clean and sober for like 2 months.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
how do you feel about that?
Let's just say I'm studying for a test. So I need to kind of like
we'll talk about it.
We'll keep my shit clean. But you know what? I mean, I've done a couple stints with 12-step programs in the past, so like it's not completely foreign to me. But I think it kind of ties back into the cell phone thing, where it's like I'm just trying to clean up a little bit, and like that's the thing about people, is that we can transform or transformative.
Sometimes you have to take stock and let go of certain things, pick up other things, and just kind of rework how you lived your life, and that's okay.
Right. Because I mean, you and I threw down together, like, obviously I can party with the best of them. I'm not like a fall down fucking drunk.
Sure.
And nothing happened. Like, it's not like I didn't hit somebody or like anything crazy like that. It's literally because I have a test that I'm studying for. But
okay. Well, on that note, if anybody is looking to co-host a show after August 1st, I'm just kidding.
I'm sober. I think I've only been fucked up on like 2 episodes.
I am sober every single time we record. The only time I was not was during our, fuck it, we'll do it high during our 420 episode.
That one, and I think there was one other one where like I mistimed. Like I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
like I think we recorded early. It was an off day, but like that was it. Other than that, like I've been doing this so it's not going to affect this at all. That doesn't affect Wired. So that's why like I'm trying to get everything in on Saturday, and then we're going to take a break with that for a while. But yeah, I mean, it'll just be, hopefully I'll have more energy to work on more creative stuff. Because it's a choice. Like, am I going to get fucked up and watch this movie tonight and then go pass out on the couch? Or am I going to stay up till 2 a.m. trying to write or research something? You know what I mean?
Sure.
You have to make very, unfortunately, what being an adult means is you have to make very serious decisions on how do you spend your time.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
the more time you spend partying, the less time you spend doing anything else, so.
Well, in the meantime, you guys can check out Wired. Again, the link is in the description. It's not the first link. The first link is to the merch. So if you want to buy the merch, but it is down there. So
Oh, can we get Wired merch?
absolutely.
Put that shit on a fucking
I already
t-shirt.
told you, if you got ideas, please send them my way. And we can make it happen. It'll, like I said, it's gonna be fun. There's gonna be lots of novelty stuff. If there's anything you guys want to see on a shirt, it may be something you heard on the show or, what have you, send it over. Eventually I would like to start doing like cryptids and aliens and things. Like I would like to put them like, maybe we would have like a special cryptid line and then we'd have like a special alien line or, whatever, conspiracy line or whatever. We'll figure it out. It'll be its own beast. But for now, at minimum, just go get the logo shirt. I mean, the logo is really cool. It's got all that stuff on there. It's got a goat. There's a ghost and a Bigfoot and Mothman and aliens. Go get that. You'll have them all in one go, and you'll have a really cool shirt. So
sure, yeah.
Or the fanny pack, and then take a picture. Take a picture, send it to me. I'll send it to everybody, and I will show them how great you look in our wonderful merch. So. Take a pic. Somebody please buy the fanny pack and take a picture of you just wearing the fanny pack.
Don't fucking tempt me.
Somebody, I don't care who it is. Somebody buy the fanny pack and take a picture of just you just only wearing the fanny pack. I want to see this, so I'm looking forward to that. You ready to get into the news? I only have one thing, but it's a big thing.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's a big one.
What you got?
So Du Bois, you know about Du Bois, right? You know that place?
Yeah.
They have done something. Let me not start there. Let me start here. Remember the conspiracy theory? Well, or not remember, but people talk about it now, where they talk about how the government controls the weather system.
Yeah.
You've heard this, right? I can't remember the actual name of the organization, but they say that they control the weather and all this and that and the other. Du Bois has done this, actually.
Okay.
So Du Bois was suffering these insane temperatures, lots of hot heat, and so what they did was they sent a couple of drones up to the clouds, and they stimulated the clouds somehow. I'm not sure. It sounds sexy. I'm not sure how they did it, but the science and whatnot, and they made it rain basically. They made the clouds overreact, and they had a torrential downpour, which they needed. But obviously now, things are kind of things are weird, with that. You're walking a weird, ethical line there. And they don't really know how that's going to affect things in the future. Is this going to be the new thing? Are we going to use it now to put out forest fires and things like that? I mean, is this going to be bigger than what it is?
Well, I think it's kind of been a thing for a little bit. I don't know, because it's cloud seeding. That's what a lot of people think the chemtrails are. It's they're like delivering, like they're dropping silver iodine into the clouds, and that is that kind of acts as, number one, it acts as a protection from like UV rays, number one, and then also it's a way that they can instigate rainstorms. Now, I don't think they can create rain out of nothing. I might be completely wrong. I don't think so.
Well, no, they're making the clouds do what clouds do. It's just that they're making it do it on their time.
Yeah, think of it as like they have a 15% like adjustment, right? As far as like dispersing clouds or making them actually produce rain. Like they can't go from a clear blue sky, sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. They can't manufacture shit into a torrential downpour like that, right? But if there's clouds already, they can kind of manipulate it a little bit and make it start raining.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well,
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of what they've done. But they use electricity to do it.
Okay.
From my understanding, I mean, I don't understand it that I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know how it works. I just know that they're doing this, and you're probably right. This probably isn't the first time that they've done this, which is how they knew, they could do it. However, I mean, you're at that point, Are we now, playing God in a way? And, when do we stop? How far do we take that? I mean, how long until, a billionaire decides, well, I want to go on vacation in Dubai and I don't want it to be scorching hot. So I'm going to make it rain before I go. I'm going to pay this amount of money to have them go make it rain before I go. And then I'm going to go, you know, so that way it's cooler. I mean, what effect does this have on the rest of the world? And, down the line, is it really an itch that we should be scratching at all? Um,
Well, that's really interesting that you bring that up. Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't see it's a slippery slope. First of all, I mean, weather modification. I mean, you bring it back to the rain dances with the Native Americans. Like we're always trying to get it to rain. Fucking farmers have been wishing for rain when they need it and hoping that it stops when they don't. Okay, we are tied to the weather on this planet, and I'm sure before science there was all types of mysticism where people tried to influence the weather.
sure.
Okay, and so it's something that, like, regardless of our effectiveness, I think mankind's been trying to fuck with the weather since day one. All
Hmm.
right, and now maybe we finally started to develop the science to where we can be a little bit more effective than rain dancing. Although who
Hmm.
knows how effective that was? Maybe it actually worked. I don't know.
Hmm.
But as far as governments doing it, like, I mean, who should have that authority? If we do develop the technology to influence the weather, who should then have access to that technology, and what authority should they act on? Right?
Right.
Should it be left up to the president? I mean, that seems like a pretty fucking serious, um, you know, power to have. I mean, the president's the only one with the nuclear football. Shouldn't he be the only one to decide when to control the weather? Because it's going to set off a chain reaction. Then again, he's no meteorologist or climatologist. Like, he doesn't understand. Well, if you make it rain today, you're going to fuck up things tomorrow, right? You can't. There's an ebb and flow to Mother Nature, and once you start screwing with things over here, it's going to affect things over here. Isn't the weather kind of global? So, like, okay, let's say that I say that I'm going to control the weather, and we're in the middle of a heat wave in California, and there's wildfires. I'm going to make it rain in California. Fine, but what if that in turn somehow fucks up, the cloud, the stratosphere, and it screws up with something in China, right?
Right.
Or vice versa. They're controlling the weather over there, and it's fucking things up over here. So, like, I don't think that it's compartmentalized enough for one nation to necessarily be able to have supreme control over it. Or maybe this is a battle that's been going on. Like, just in the course of this conversation, I looked it up, and the United States and Canada had a treaty in 1975 that they would share all discoveries made as far as weather modification goes, like scientific discoveries. Okay. There's a UN treaty that goes back to 1977. Like, this has kind of been around. It's been an idea that people have had that we're going to be able to do this one day, right? That, like, the science was there. We kind of understand. We can get up there now. We can fly around up there and fuck with shit. It's only a matter of time before we figure out how to make clouds or dissipate clouds or do whatever. Okay. So I almost wonder if this is part of some bigger treaty that's already been signed, or that there's some kind of understanding. Like, you would hope that as far as, like, cloning goes, there's some type of UN mandate or UN consensus that everyone's come to when it comes to cloning, right? Or when it
True.
comes when it
Maybe.
comes to when things that affect the whole entire species,
Hmm.
right? Or maybe not. Maybe the weather's all fucked up, and that's why you get all these billionaires trying to get off the planet, right? You're worried about a billionaire trying to make it rain in Dubai. I think they're more concerned with getting the fuck out of Dodge.
Well, that's a good point. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe, I guess. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't think we should, I don't think we should be messing with that kind of stuff, but that's just me. What do you guys think about it? Um, Let us know. When you see this post, whatever post you came from on whatever social media you hail from, comment what you think. Tell us what you think. Should we be allowed to manipulate the weather? What do you think that something like this will lead to? Is it a good idea? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote no.
Even with all that, no, exactly. Because I don't know if Dubois consulted with anybody else. I think they just fucking did it. And nobody's been like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, weather patterns don't stop. Like Gulf streams and jet streams and all that shit doesn't just stop at your borders, right? So like if because what happens if your neighbors really need that rain and you're stealing it from them because you're making it rain over you so that it cools down?
Right.
Meanwhile, the country next door is, the crops are dying because you keep stealing all their fucking rain. I mean, that's the thing is like I'm not an expert on that shit, but I can imagine that it's a tricky thing to get into.
Like you said, slippery slope, and so we'll just, I guess we'll see how this plays out if it continues to be a thing. But now it's here. I mean, they did it, so we'll see what happens. And that's what they say. They really don't know how it's going to affect things. So maybe it doesn't affect it at all. We'll see. But that's interesting.
There was a story in the news about 5 years ago, maybe it was a little bit longer than that, where Chile got hit by a fucking earthquake, and the Chilean president got on the media, like the national news, and blamed America for causing the earthquake.
Oh,
did you ever hear about that?
No, I don't know anything about that.
Nuts. And he was this guy. I mean, Chile kind of sounds like one of those South American countries. Like there was all kinds of crazy shit that was going on down there. Where I think they had like, they're one of those countries that I think has like where the government owns all the natural resources, like the oil.
Yeah.
Like it's a government run oil agency, and they were kind of taking all the money. And I don't know. I'm no geopolitics fucking major, but look into that. I would say look into that too, because he came out and made some very, very public allegations about the United States being able to control earthquakes and start earthquakes with satellites and shit. And everyone was just kind of like, what?
I will look into this. I am very curious about that. I'm is it bullshit? I mean, yeah, probably. But
it's the president of Chile. It wasn't like just some random fucking asshole. Like it was like, whoa. But at the same time, it's a country that's, or it might have been Argentina. I think it was Chile.
I mean, have you seen some of the politicians here and all the crazy shit that they spew?
Right.
Especially within the last year, So I mean, they're people too. But I am very curious. I definitely want to look into that. Maybe we can revisit that next week after, just to because I kind of want to see what happens with this rain situation, if anything happens. I mean, do they go back to just being hot? I mean, what are they going to do it again? I don't know. So,
well, are you guys in the middle of a heat wave too?
Yeah,
I know we are in Chicago.
I'm pretty sure we are. I don't know. Yeah. I don't watch the fucking news. It's hot outside.
You were outside in the fucking pool today, like
because it was hot. So sure, it's a heat wave. I don't know. I don't sure. Yes. I'm just gonna say yeah. I think so. I know you guys are, so we probably are too.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna say yes. But anyway, that's what I have for the news this week. So last week we discussed kinks and fetishes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to get you guys worked up, and excited, just to bring you crashing back down, because this week, as you already know from the title, we're going to be talking about a little famous fellow by the name of Armin Meiwes. And
the butcher of Rotenburg.
Yeah, he's I kind of like the guy. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the guy, and that sounds weird, but once you listen to the whole thing, I don't think you're gonna think he's so bad. I don't think he's so bad. So
we'll get to that, I guess.
We'll get to that. So back in 2001, when the internet did not have very many restrictions, Armin Meiwes went onto a website, a forum known as the Cannibal Cafe, which was a forum that was for people who fetishized cannibalism. Now, I know on the forum they had some type of disclosure that said something about if you can't differentiate between fantasy and reality, then you probably shouldn't be here and whatnot. But he went on there and he posted an ad that he was looking for. Basically, he was looking for a decently fit male between the ages of, I think it was 18 and 25 or something like that, pretty young male. That was willing to be murdered and willing to be cannibalized. And he was fucking serious. He wanted this to happen. He was very serious. And several people answered his ad. Actually, more than that. Actually, I think I couldn't confirm this. I tried, but I think at one point in my life, because I've read about this case multiple times. Like I said, it's one of my favorites, if you can have a favorite. I think that I read that like over 100 people had responded to his ad. Now, most of them were just people that thought he was role playing. They're like, oh yeah, cannibalize me, daddy, and or whatever. And then, but one guy showed up, or they made plans for this, and the guy bailed. But then came along, Burned Brandis. I can't say his name. Burned. I'm going to call him Brandis. Burned Brandis came along and said, hey, yeah, I'll do it. So the long and short, I'll tell you the long and short. I'm going to tell you all the way through, and then we'll kind of get into the more details and interesting stuff. Brandis and Meiwes met up, and they ended up, they were at Armin's house, and things kind of started going underway. So Brandis had suggested that Armin Armin Meiwes, that Armin bite off his penis. And he was like, yeah, I'm down. So he tried to bite this guy's penis off, and it didn't work because penises are, well, they're hard. And it didn't work, so they cut it off. And Brandis said, hey, let's eat it together. They tried to eat it raw, but, again, hard penis, couldn't do it. So Meiwes ended up cooking it, and in the process of cooking it, he burnt it, so they couldn't eat it then because it didn't taste very good. They fed it to the dog. Then Brandis went and laid down in the bathtub, and, his plan was just to bleed to death. He had taken like 15 sleeping pills or something before any of this had even happened. And so while they were waiting for him to bleed to death, Armin Meiwes sat down and read a Star Trek book. And about 3 hours had passed, and he noticed that Brandis wasn't dead yet.
Because Star Trek people are fucking weird. Never confuse Star Trek with Star Wars. It's a vast difference between the two. And that was the least surprising part of the story, and I'll let you continue on.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Like I said, we'll get to the details. This is just to let people know what the fuck you're getting into. So anyway, so then, he was reading a Star Trek book, and about 3 hours had passed. He went and checked on him. He was still alive. And so Marvin then, or I keep calling him Marvin, Armin Meiwes. I need to pick one. It's either Meiwes or Armin. Meiwes then said some sweet nothings to Brandis, and then he stabbed him in the neck, and he died. And then he got to butchering, and he went and butchered up his body like you would any other animal for the most part, and ate his body over the course of a year. So that's most of it. That's, again, we're gonna start from the beginning. Pat, would you like to start from the beginning? Maybe talk about the Cannibal Cafe a little bit. I don't know if you know anything. I don't know what you know, I guess.
I mean, I watched the interview. There's a really good interview with this guy on
it's hilarious.
YouTube. Well, I don't know if I would use that adjective to describe it, but it's very thorough. I mean, I felt like I think I read the Wikipedia page. Let me explain my investigative process to the listeners at home. I start out on Wikipedia, and then sometimes I go from there, and sometimes I don't. And luckily, it was funny because I started watching that documentary, and then I had to stop because I had to go do stuff. I got about like a third of the way in, and then you texted me the link to it. We're like, oh my God, you got to watch this interview. And it's I feel like after watching that, I felt like I don't know how much more in depth I need to go in this case. Number one,
sure,
because the 45-minute, it's like the German news station, like it just sat down and had an interview with this guy, and this guy's still alive, and he's coherent, normal. He's not like a crazy Charles Manson person in jail with a swastika carved in his head, although how apropos would that be? So you're able to talk to him, and you're able to get his perception of events, and he's able to talk about his childhood.
He's very open.
Yeah, he is very, very open. And so I felt with those two things, I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on what was going down with this story.
Oh, good. I got a big whammy for you. And I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it to the end.
and I also felt incredibly fucking dirty. This whole like
Yeah.
researching this like topic was like was like the movie 8 millimeter. Have you ever seen the movie 8 millimeter?
No.
Where like Nicolas Cage, it's by the guy that wrote Seven. It was a big, like, the kids I knew in high school that were all fucking dark were like into this movie. And it was like Joaquin Phoenix, one of his first roles too. And Nicolas Cage is hired by somebody to investigate like a snuff film. And this old guy comes across a snuff film and wants to know if it's real and if the girl in it is alive or dead or whatever. And Nicolas Cage goes into this deep, like, dark underworld of people that are into like torture porn and like crazy shit. And he kind of befriends Joaquin Phoenix, who plays someone that works
It
at like
sounds like it's good. Is it good? Is it a good movie?
it's all about how, like, Joaquin Phoenix has this line about how if you stare long enough into the abyss, like the abyss doesn't change, you do. And like researching this topic, like I just didn't want to hear it anymore. I was like, fuck, because like it's so, I have a lot of different opinions about this case, and I'm glad we researched it though, because it really does. I at least drew a lot of connections with last week's conversation about kinks and fetishes, because one of the interesting things about German law is that this guy was prosecuted twice for this crime,
He was.
because they did it the first time and they kind of wrote it off as insanity, and he got it whatever.
Well, it was
Was the
manslaughter the first time.
Yeah, and then they did it the second time, and it was murder, and now he's away for life. And the distinction between the two was that they felt that he participated in this act due to as a way to get sexual gratification, and because of that they felt that that really needed to be the forefront of the prosecution's case, even though the man that died, and I hesitate calling him a victim, but the man that died fully gave his consent.
And
It
here's the
did.
crazy thing about it is that not just fully gave his consent, because I'm gonna share some other examples of kind of similar cases later on, but he videotaped the entire thing. And
Right.
he wasn't just consenting to it, he was actively engaging. It was his idea to bite the penis off, and then it was his idea to cut it off. It was his idea to eat it. Like, and so you're right, calling him a victim would really, do this a disservice, because the man was 100% willing to do it. He could have left at any time.
Right. Well, this is interesting because part of, and this is a point that you echoed last week, is that the importance of consent.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of idea that we operate under is that everything is permissible as long as there's consent.
Right.
And this case, as far as German law goes, the fact that this man is now serving a life sentence on a second trial, which obviously German laws are structured different than ours, it goes to show you that that's not the case, that there is a higher law than just what you can get somebody to agree to.
Right.
Right. That there's a higher standard that we should set our actions to than that. And that's very interesting to consider in the realm of like kinks and fetishes and stuff, but also this case.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought was interesting about this, and you had brought up what was the guy's name, the Japanese guy, C
Oh, I
Sagawa.
think I think you say it. I think it's Essie Sagawa. I think. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Eventually, I would like to do a whole episode on that guy.
Right. So real this is another famous cannibal that served his time,
Mm-hmm.
and then
He's free. He
you brought him
walks
up on
free.
another show too. But yeah, served his time and then got out and whatever. But in both cases, these guys express regret for kind of what they did. And I think that it's interesting is that, we're kind of taught that people's kinks are their own, and that regardless of what they are, as long as there's a consenting partner, that there shouldn't be any kind of disparagement put upon
I
them.
mean, I would. No, I would say that the Japanese guy did not regret what. As a matter of fact, he said that he would eat people again. He went on to do porn depicting the events that he partook in. Like he did not
No, the
regret.
article I read said that he had come to regret it later on in life. Maybe not
Mm.
immediately or whatever, but he had expressed regret for what he did. And he also said that he regrets after the fact for his obsession. And
Oh
I think
well.
that's kind of what's interesting here is that both you're just taking him out of the equation and just sticking with
With
Armin's.
Armin, yeah.
Like he had an obsession with this idea, and the fact that he just kind of obsessing over it and obsessing over it and obsessing over it, he finally got himself so worked up that he let it he carried through with it. And on the
Yeah.
other end of the equation, you have this other guy who is obsessed with being devoured.
Right.
And it's why this whole ridiculous situation played out. And I think that like I said, there's this kind of idea put forth that people's kinks are their own, and as long as there's consent, it's no big deal. But we're seeing that like maybe that's not the case, and maybe some of these things, like we talked last week about self-destruction and how sometimes man's self-destructive nature is tied in with how they express themselves sexually,
Mm-hmm.
and in the form of like people that are bug hunters and stuff like that. And that was obviously the person that was eaten here, that was their situation, was that
Right.
they wanted to see themselves destroyed, and they went about it in this way. Some people would go about it with trying to catch a fucking disease or something, and this is how this guy expressed his self-destructive nature.
Right.
And that's not healthy, and that's not right. And you could say, oh well, it was his choice, and if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. But okay, well, maybe it should, at some point, should we step in and try to get him help? You know what I mean?
Well, I
Like,
mean, obviously, that ship sailed when he went for it, and that's the thing. I mean, gosh, if your kink is being eaten, it's a one and done deal. So like if it didn't, you ever like build yourself up to like sleeping with somebody and you're like, this is gonna be great, this is gonna be great, and then you sleep with them and it's not that good, and you're like, well, maybe next time. You're not gonna get that with the cannibalism.
right. I
Yeah.
know. I mean, but here's I think that's a great explanation to bring up, great comparison to bring up, because most people, it's relatively vanilla. Most people have been in that situation where
Sure.
there's an object of their affection, attention, and they hyper focus on it and they obsess on it, and you know they compulsively act towards achieving that goal. And then when they get the goal, like there's the disappointment and stuff. Although I've had times when it wasn't disappointing at all, but that's
Oh,
conversations
right.
left
It's
for the
not always
Patreon.
disappointing. I
But my
mean,
but my point is though is that like you know in that completely vanilla situation, in that completely vanilla scenario where it's just somebody at work that you're obsessing over, right? Couldn't you not fuck them? Couldn't you not obsess over them? Like, granted, maybe
mm,
you would need to like seriously stop and think about what you're doing and change railroad tracks and go over here instead of over there.
it takes good effort, right? I
Right.
mean,
But the thing is, it's possible, and you'll still achieve gratification again. Right.
right.
In this case, they're saying, no, 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 you don't understand. This is just part of who I am. This is the way I'm wired. I'm wired to be a cannibal. And if I find a consenting partner, why should you stand in the way of us fulfilling who we are? You know what I mean? Like, I think that sometimes we need to honestly look at some of these kinks and fetishes and realize that they're they're product of abnormality. Like this guy had a terrible childhood, and they document that in the YouTube video about what kind of led him down this path. And
Hmm.
granted, not everybody that has that. It's not that he had that traumatic of a childhood,
It's
you
pretty
know,
normal for today's standards,
product of
really.
fucking divorce. Like, bitch,
Right.
please. But like, whatever, hey,
Right.
his burdens are his own. Um,
He was very lonely, right? He was a very lonely individual in general. Armin, that is.
right.
Was a very lonely individual, and he said that also Hansel and Gretel was an inspiration for the story of Hansel and Gretel was an inspiration for this, and then so he took something like Hansel and Gretel, okay, eating people, right, and then he took something else, this horrible sad loneliness, and he put it together and created his own kind of monster, and was like, you know what, I'm going to do this, but he, you know what, listen, listen, if you have a very strong desire to I'm sorry, to eat people, Okay, if that is your thing, which I don't, it could be if you're listening to this. First of all, get help. Something else is going on there. It's deeper than that. However, if you absolutely have to do it, um, at least like be polite and like ask. Don't just like go kill somebody. That's which he didn't. He found somebody that was consenting. He was killing two birds with one stone. He was itching his own scratch and somebody else's. So I don't think the guy should be in prison for the rest of his life.
I think they were both mentally ill, and that you're just going to punish the survivor. But I think they both could have this. If mental health care was where it should be, hopefully both of them could have potentially been saved from
Could
this.
have
I
been
mean,
saved, right?
this was a compulsion that they had. And it's interesting that you talk about, one of like the jokes is like Tiger Woods, right? And like he tried to act like he was a sex addict because he got caught cheating, and like everyone kind of had a little bit of a laugh at that. But like once again, when we talk about these obsessions with people, and like I would do anything to sleep with this person because I'm so hyper fixated on them, you know that like it doesn't matter what it's going to cost me, it doesn't matter what damage I'm going to do to every other part of my life to get with this person. I need to get with this person. And relatively vanilla people have that drive
Well,
where their brains get
everybody does
rewired.
for different things. I mean, I'm a smoker, right? And so, my drive to smoke cigarettes outweighs the fact that it's extremely unhealthy for me to do. I just simply don't care. I'm still going to smoke, So I mean, and everybody's got something different. I mean, gosh, think about it. Think about your favorite, burger joint or whatever, and you want to eat that cheeseburger. Man, you can't wait to eat that cheeseburger. And you're going to what you're going to do is, even though it's going to take a little bit of extra time, maybe it's 45 minutes away, you're going to drive 45 minutes away to go have that burger. Nothing's going to stop you from doing it. It's kind of a fucked up analogy, actually. I didn't realize. Well, sorry about that. But everybody's got that. Once you get focused on something that you want bad enough, yeah, then you got the drive to get it, and
But
kind of
what
everything else pales in comparison.
and I think what makes people get like his explanation for why his fixation was cannibalism was it was trauma based. He had trauma in his childhood that kind of led him in this direction,
Sure.
right? And that's something that I think that we talked about last week with why some people are masochistic or why people are sadistic. Some people are masochistic because of trauma in their past where they learned disassociation, and that's the way that they just deal with things. And I think it's interesting that the more you look at some of and this is why people, I don't know if you know this, but there's a big, like, I don't want to say movement, but a lot of kinksters really fucking hate Dr. Drew. And the reason they hate him is for what I'm about to say right fucking now, is that there's a lot of correlation between people that are into kink and alternative lifestyles and people that have experienced trauma in the past.
Hmm.
And instead of dealing with the trauma in the past, they choose to just continue living in these, like, the kink lifestyle instead of dealing with the trauma and potentially having more straightforward vanilla relationships. But they see conforming to that vanilla norm as being like accepting defeat and like kind of like giving up a sense of identity that they have. They don't want to do that. So they just revel in the whatever and ignore the trauma and let it continue to, but it still haunts them and they still have fucked up relationships. Right. And a lot of people that are kinksters don't like hearing that, hearing that, because some of them honestly don't have fucked up childhoods. They're legitimately just into what they're into, and that doesn't even apply to them at all. But some of them it does apply to them, and no one likes getting called on their bullshit. So Dr. Drew isn't necessarily very popular with the kinksters, but I kind of believe it. And when you look at this case, I think this is like a perfect example of like this sexual kink that he was into, even though he had consent, it was trauma based. It was something that should have been put a stop to before it could get this far. Um, there was a victim here. There is somebody that's dead now, and there is a man that's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. And I don't know. I don't. I mean, it kind of goes back to like the Kevorkian thing too. And physician assisted suicide. Should euthanasia be something that we allow
Yeah.
people to go through with, or not?
So, well, let me stop you for a second because speaking as a a trauma person, who seems to have a new trauma every year at least. Um, you know, I do understand what you're saying, but I have to disagree with a lot of what you're saying, because I know that, like, I'm not somebody that has regular vanilla sex or regular vanilla relationships or any of that. And it's just because I'm simply not interested in doing those things, because I've already lived a different life and I enjoy that life and I'm okay to enjoy that life. I also understand and recognize that the reason why I've even been exposed to that kind of life is because of my trauma. But the way that I see it is not that it's because I'm not dealing with my things, it's because that's how I'm coping with it. That those are my coping mechanisms. And since I was able to have a normal, not a normal life, since I was able to have a life that I enjoy living, but also, and, have this other, do these relationships the way that I do, or whatever it is that I do, as long as I'm coping with it in a healthy way for me, then I don't see a reason to change it. Now, I would never go as far as to, kill and cannibalize somebody. Obviously, when you get to that point, there's a lot that you need to, figure out. But like, I agree with things like physician assisted suicide. I've been faced with my own death before, and I just told everybody that, listen, if that's the way I want to go, that's the way I want to go. That's up to me. It's my life. But granted, from the other side of it, it's that, other people have to then continue to live without you. You don't have to live without you. So it is very selfish, but there are two sides to that story. But, just again with this, why is it a problem? There's almost 8 billion people on the planet. Why can't we have people wanting to cannibalize people and people wanting to die, and they fucking meet together? And you know how much crime we could avoid by letting that happen? I'm serious. What's the issue? I mean, why shouldn't we be allowed to do something like that? Have some type of program in place for things like that?
It's interesting that he didn't start to face life in jail until they realized that he got sexual pleasure from it. That's kind of crazy too. It's like when they realized that, like, he was both parties were mentally ill, and this was something that transpired between two high functioning mentally ill members of society. They were kind of okay with, like, writing one guy's off. Okay, so this guy died. He was fucking batshit crazy anyway, and this guy survived, but he doesn't seem to be a threat to anyone, and he's mentally ill, and we'll put him in an insane asylum and he'll figure his shit out, or he won't. But it wasn't until they realized, no, this was like a kink scenario and he derived sexual pleasure from it, therefore he could try to do it again one day.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they decided to lock him up for the rest of his life.
Well, and the general community was pissed as well. So yeah, I mean, they decided to go ahead and make an example out of him and be like, this isn't okay, we don't accept this. But that's like the same thing as, like, I don't know. Say that your favorite ice cream flavor is chocolate. Oh my God, why do I keep making food analogies?
Because it's about motherfuckers eating each other. I mean, I'm not scratching my head at that one.
Okay, well, let's say your favorite ice cream flavor is chocolate, and the rest of the world disagrees that your favorite ice cream flavor is chocolate. And it doesn't affect them if you eat it, right? It doesn't hurt them at all that you eat chocolate ice cream, but they're going to make chocolate ice cream illegal now. They're just not having it. Like, that sounds ridiculous, right? Doesn't that sound ridiculous? I mean, it does, yeah, because it is. And so that's kind of, where I'm at with this case. But then you say, oh, but he killed someone. Okay. He did. The guy wanted him to kill him. That, like, that's what he, like, the fact of the matter is that guy wanted to die. Like, let's be real. And, he did, like, of course, I guess we kind of got lucky in the sense that, he had a very specific way that he wanted to die, but he could have just killed himself and nobody would have gotten to eat his body. That sounds weird, but, like, when you, and, okay, so I will post I'll post the interview because it is a really good interview. I will post it in the description. It's not going to be the first link because the first link is for the merch, but right underneath that, after you're done buying your shirt, go check out the Armin Meiwes interview because it's a really good interview. But the first thing he opens with is, basically something along the lines of pretty much, I ate a man and he's with me forever now. He said that. That's
Right.
that's kind of sweet. It's kind of romantic. I mean,
yeah, but it's also unhealthy and fucked up and not the way that you know what I mean? Like you can romanticize it, sure, but at the same time, like that dude needs counseling. All these guys are fucked up. Like that was the other, like I was just like listening to like both of like the situation these guys had, and I was like, wow, these guys are fucked up.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. These guys are fucked up. Here's what I thought was crazy too. How about the chick that was like, she let this guy babysit her kids and then was like, oh, he was a good babysitter. I didn't even let him babysit. Like, even post cannibalism, she still said that she would let this Armin guy like watch her kids. Like that's how good he was. Like, first of all, like we're both parents. Like we both have to deal with childcare. I would never hire a dude to watch my kids anyway.
Well,
like,
that's
I have a very specific type of babysitter that I hire for my child. Like I only make sure that he's surrounded by beautiful, busty women, so that he grows up to expect such things out of
only
him.
the best, right?
Only the best for him. I would never hire some weird fucking, guy that wants to chew other dude.
But I wouldn't judge. You know what? That's a fucked up thing. I wouldn't judge him for the fact that he was. He's not a violent guy, Pat. He's not a violent person.
Fuck that. That's the most.
Not.
Why would you feel the need to make excuse? No. Yeah, he did. He cut off someone's dick and ate it. And he didn't even cook it.
He wanted him to. He was consenting to it. That's the whole part about it. That makes this different for me.
Yeah, but the thing is that you.
Yes, you have to have some type of disconnect in order to do that. But the fact of the matter was that he still had a moral compass, and he wasn't going to go out and just do this to just anybody. He's not a threat to kids because kids can't consent.
Well, one could. Who knows?
Well, who knows? One could have been like, "Oh yeah,"
or given a long enough timeline, how his desperation would go. Because remember, this whole thing started with him having this imaginary relationship with a brother, a younger brother that was.
You're
his
right.
age.
He definitely could.
So maybe he could be in the grocery store one day and he sees some young little boy that looks just like the younger brother that he thought he had growing up, and who knows? I mean, hey. I'm a very creative person. I can come up with all kinds of scenarios where this guy ends up eating a 9-year-old. All right, we don't need to go down that road. I'm just saying, like, on a long enough timeline, who knows what the fuck would happen?
You're right.
Here's another thing I wanted to bring up. Do you think there's bootleg copies of that video out there?
Let's talk about this.
Okay, because I guarantee you, my old guitar player has one, because he was like one of those dudes that would have all kinds of crazy shit off like E-Bombs World, like the beheading videos. I almost wanted to call him up and be like, you got a copy of this, right? Let's
talk about this, because as a matter of fact, this was one of my, again, this is a case I'm extremely familiar with. I'm fucking weird. I love these crazy, I like true crime, the weirder and gorier. And
when did this happen? This was like 2001. Yeah, it's not that long ago.
2001. So, and again, he recorded all of it from the beginning to the end, everything. Right. So, and they showed that they showed it in court, and it fucked a lot of people up. The Armin Meiwes tape is considered lost media on the internet. There's a whole archive of lost media. So it exists. They didn't destroy it. They have the evidence, but it's never been released. It's like some of the footage from Columbine also has never been released. Even though they have a lot of it. We've only ever gotten the still shots. I don't think we've ever gotten video footage of it. But it's there. There's a lot of this weird lost media out there, and this is one of them. But there are what we do have, and I've tried to find it. If you know where to find it, I'd tell you to send it to me, but that would be incriminating myself. Just, you get the gist. But there are screenshots allegedly from the video. And they're not, they're gruesome. So if you like the crime scene photo stuff and the gore and things, you can, and that's on the surface web. That's not like deep web or anything like that. Like that's, they do exist. So it is out there, sort of. A guy came forward and shared 2 more screenshots. So now we have a total of 6 and said that he was part of the investigation or whatever and saw the video. And who knows if that's real, but allegedly it is, and shared 2 more screen grabs from it. So it does exist. But there is also, there's been a couple of other media things made on it, not just that particular thing. I know there's a movie called Cannibal, which is supposed to be a direct recreation from start to finish. The director claims that he saw the video and this was to the best of his knowledge. What happened from him seeing it allegedly, and also that Rammstein song "Mind Tile" is about this guy. I don't know if you knew that, but
no, I'm not
a big German metal fan.
I've seen them before. They used to play like festivals in the 90s.
No, they're legit. They got a really popular song called "Mind Tile," and "Mind Tile" literally translates to "my part." So
okay.
yeah. So, if you guys don't know, the big kicker of this is the whole penis thing. Like in that interview, they talked about like the penis situation, like him cutting off and eating the penis like 5 times. I don't know. I guess that's why I thought it was hilarious, because it's like, okay, we get it. We get it. He chopped up his penis to try to eat it. We get it. But anyway, so yeah, the lost media, it is out there somewhere. Talk to your buddy. If you think that he's got it, a lot of people on the internet would like to see it. Because I don't think it would be illegal to possess. It's just that, nobody's been able to recover it yet, but it does exist. Other things I wanted to note about it, is that, this is not a joke. This is not just something funny that people say. It's not an urban myth. Armin's now a vegetarian. I'm dead serious. Like I said, it's not a joke. I'm very serious. He's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
He is an extremely, extremely well-behaved inmate. And as a matter of fact, remember I told you I had something big to share with you. I'm going to share it now. Armin, as of May of 2020, is now part of a prison release program. And he gets to leave and go out into like the pub. He's in like over here in America, we have like halfway houses, and so you get like restrictions and stuff like that. He's part of that, so he can leave and go on walks and things. When he leaves, they do try to disguise him with like a hat and sunglasses, and he does have 2 basically bodyguards with him, prison officials with him, but he's now allowed to come and go. I don't think it's like he can just leave whenever. I mean, obviously he's got rules, but he's now part of this prison release program, and he gets to leave. So, I guess he's done pretty well. I mean, I suppose they think, again, he's been so forthcoming about the situation, and that's how like exactly how mentally ill he is that this is just normal. It's just like you and I sitting here talking about his situation, but he talks about his situation like, yeah, this happened, and but he's I think he's been doing the work that he needs to do to kind of make this better, I suppose. But again, he doesn't eat meat anymore, which is interesting. But the reason why he was caught was because we never really talked about this, was because a year later, after him and Brandis did their thing, and he had the meat, up to a year afterwards. That's how the police found out he did it, because they showed up and there was all this human meat everywhere. Was because he posted another ad on the Cannibal Cafe looking for somebody else to do it again.
Right, which is why I can see reason for incarceration, at least at first, because it's obvious that he's continuing to try to do this.
Right, he thought it was okay to do it again.
Right, and I don't know. I guess I could, knee-jerk reaction for the police. I mean, there's another aspect to this, which is, are we, police don't necessarily have the training to deal with mentally ill people versus, just flat out criminals, right? His behavior speaks more of mental illness than it does like he's not like some criminal mastermind or something. And, it does occupy this gray area that is hard for us to navigate, let alone, your rank and file police officer that just knows, someone breaks the law, you throw them in jail.
Sure.
So I get that, like, this guy did it. they're there to investigate a crime because the guy he was trying to pick up on the message board, he admitted that he had killed this guy, and the person he was talking to. Although, what was that guy's excuse? He was like writing a paper for school or some shit. They're always researching something when they get caught on these fucking fetish sites. Oh, I was writing a book,
Yeah.
The old Pete Townsend excuse. And so that was that weirdo's fucking explanation.
Right, he admitted that he did this to some. Well, actually, it wasn't the ad. He was saying that he's done this before. And then people were messaging him, and that student allegedly was like, well, how many people have you done this to?
Yeah, got into a discussion with him and got some of the details out of him, was alarmed by it, and let the police know. The police search the house. They find the false bottom in the freezer with all the human meat in it.
Yeah.
Boom, they throw him in jail. There really wasn't that much of an investigation because they find the tape. Although what I thought was interesting was that I don't know how much investigation was done with this guy that went missing in the first place, because it sounds like,
nobody missed him.
Or not only that, but if you searched his computer and he was in chat rooms talking to this guy, I mean, you can find, I don't know how well this guy did covering his tracks, but maybe no one was really looking for him, or they didn't look for him that hard. But it's interesting that the missing persons case didn't bring the police anywhere near this guy. It was him fucking around on the internet, a year or two later, with trying to find his next victim. That's what brought the police to his door.
Right.
And
right.
at
Because
that point, you throw him in jail.
If he wouldn't have ever tried it again,
he would have gotten away with it.
He would have gotten away with it.
Yeah, potentially.
I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. I mean, like you said, but it's not like the investigation was too hot and heavy for Brandis.
And I think that's the alarming part too, is that he did this once. And, you listen to the way that the events went down. It wasn't, like you said yourself, like they couldn't cut it off at first. The knife was too dull. And then, they tried to eat it, but he burnt it. And then the guy just dies in the bathtub. And it's just like this kind of weird, fucked up thing. And he wanted to do it again.
Yeah. Right.
So obviously there's, granted it was consensual the first time around. And you know how these people on the internet are. They talk a big game online and they show up at your front door and they try to fucking...
Yeah, wow.
I mean, what happens if some dude comes over there and doesn't want to take his dick out? Like, I don't know. Like, shit could have gotten hairy.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, well, that's what the forum was kind of supposed to be about. It was supposed to just be this kind of fantasy talk. But, when you're talking about fantasy talk amongst cannibals...
Well, that's
what did you expect?
That's what always worried me when, I would have a partner that would want to engage in like sadomasochistic stuff. I remember someone coming to me once and being like, "Oh, I want you to," they were telling me about a fantasy they had, and they wanted to be kind of like roughed up a little bit, and they wanted to have like their panties cut off them and me just to kind of forcefully take them and all this stuff. And I was like, "You're asking me to." I want you to leave bruises. I'm like, you're asking me to leave a whole lot of physical evidence behind.
Right,
I'm going to need you to sign something first saying that all of this is consensual. Otherwise, you could very easily walk out of here and walk right into a fucking emergency room and my ass could go away for a long time.
Right.
That's anybody that when you do this stuff, you need to really kind of, protect yourself because, and that's what makes some of this shit so crazy, that you're going to give so much power and control into like some weirdo person you just met off the internet who you don't know anything about. And, there was a case not too long ago here in Illinois, in Chicago, where like one of the guys was like a UIC professor or something. And he met a guy online and they wanted to kill somebody. And they invited like a third party over to the apartment. And it was like some dude they met off Grindr or something. And they just killed the guy just to see what it would be like.
That is always so weird. I think one day we should do a show about people that kill people together, but not just like obviously there's like, gang things and stuff like that. I mean like a situation like that, like where two sick individuals, like Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole, I mean, they come together and just start killing all these fucking, like, how do you even have that conversation? Like, hey, you ever thought about killing somebody? And they're like, well, kind of. And they're like, oh, well, I think about it all the time. We should definitely, like, we should do this a lot together.
Well, and was there like a gay relationship between those two? I've seen the movie Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. I
Oh,
don't.
that's not a good representation at all. No, there was not. There was not a gay
Okay.
relationship between them. They were just buds. And there's a different duo. I can't remember their names right now. But they were even more brutal, and they would like abduct these women with their van, and like they were fucking awful. Like tortured these women and together. And it's just so weird that, like I said, maybe we'll do a whole, thing about it. Because you got couples and stuff too. I mean, you got the Ken and Barbie couple or whatever, and her ass is out of prison and has walked free while the guys, I don't remember their names, but Carla Homolka and whatever the fuck the guy's name was, and but again, these people, the West, Fred and Rosemary West, you got these people that find each other and they got this weird obsession with killing people, and like, how the fuck does that even happen? Can you imagine? I've never, like, in all the relationship I've been in, I guess I don't really want to kill people either, but like that's not something that I've ever thought maybe I should start. Like that's a good way to vet who's good and who's not. Just start talking to them like, you ever thought about killing somebody? I mean, I'd probably get the cops called on me and my house raided a couple times a week, but
No, knowing the fucking people that you suck into your orbit,
they'd be like,
you
yeah, actually.
they would probably be like, anything for you. Like, okay. I would say
Listen.
you'd be better off having them knock over 7-Elevens, and then just they have 7-Elevens by you, convenience
No.
stores. All
Well,
right,
no, not really. Actually, I don't think we do have any 7-Elevens.
convenience stores, whatever, gas
No
stations.
convenience stores, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you should do. Is you should just like be like, go steal from me. And like, okay, because they kill somebody, you don't get money from that. What do you fucking care?
No, and then I get in trouble too.
Yeah, exactly. You just have them robbed for you.
That's a good idea. And then be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I didn't I didn't ask them to do this.
You know what I mean?
That's it. Well, now I can't do it because they said it on the show, but
Hypothetically speaking. Yeah,
hypothetically. Yeah.
as far as the people finding each other, like you're right. I don't alone have the desire to do that stuff, so I wouldn't know how you would go about finding someone else. But I mean, I don't know. You get you get groups of dudes that come together and form bands. You know what I mean? Where you have
That's legal. You're allowed to play music. You're not allowed to kill and rape and torture people. Like that's
Well, I'd assume it's the same thing where you have an interest in something, you find like-minded individuals that share that interest with you, and then it kind of goes from there. Or maybe it happens organically the first time. Maybe the first time is a crime of necessity or a passion or something like that, where it just kind of happens, and the duo survives it, and they say, "Okay, well, we've done this. Now, how do we do it again?" And then inevitably, this actually is not a bad plot for a movie. Now that I'm saying it out loud. But like, inevitably one person enjoys it more than the other, and somebody wants to pull away and they don't want to because this is something that they're in together.
okay. So you're talking about natural born killers.
There was that. Yeah, exactly. Because when they kill Rodney Dangerfield, like he's banging his daughter and he's a fucking scumbag.
He's a bad guy, right?
Yeah, and Mickey comes in and kills him, and then they go off on the crime spree and they kill the Barbarian Brothers.
And
I need to rewatch that movie. That's a good movie.
Man, that's one of my favorite. It really is. It's one of my favorites. Of course it is.
I've been meaning to rewatch the Doors movie too. I'm a big Oliver Stone fan, and obviously, and those two of his movies are like some of my I used to watch those all the fucking time, and I probably haven't seen them in like 10 years.
Oh man, they're so good. Well, anyway, like I said, maybe we'll get more in depth with people that kill together, on a later episode. But as far as this one goes, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Armin should spend the rest of his life in prison? Do you think that Brandis having consent to do this made it okay? Did it not make it okay? Why or why not? I mean, what's your argument here? What do you guys think? I'm curious as to what people think. I think a lot more people are, more willing to free up the space and let Armin walk and let other people that actually are like a danger to others, be in prison. But it doesn't work that way necessarily. But, obviously if you had to pick between, sending Armin to prison for the rest of your life and sending Jeffrey Dahmer to prison for the rest of his life, I mean, who would you pick? I mean, obviously, I think.
Well, if I had the choice between sending him to some kind of rehab facility versus a jail. I would
Well,
definitely do
right.
it.
Let's not even get into how awful prison is and how it doesn't actually help anybody. Prison in different countries is different though.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's been rehabilitated at least a little bit, and that's the thing that I think I'm not I'm not debating the desperation and the compulsion that he felt to make him do this in the first place.
Yeah.
But I think that the fact that he's been able to go from somebody who had that type of fetish or that kind of obsession to someone that's now a vegetarian and completely in control of himself, that shows how easily the brain can be rewired to recover from trauma and dysfunction.
Well, right. It
That's
shows that he could have stopped this before it got to that point to begin with.
well, or even if he couldn't done it alone, it could have been stopped. It
Mhm.
might have required, a counselor. It might have required a psychiatrist or something, but it could have been done. He wasn't born this way and thus destined to live the entirety of his life this way. He had a traumatic childhood that kind of nudged him towards this path because our traumas and our past kind of define our pleasure centers or whatever, you know what I mean, like the things that
Yeah.
we're into. But that can be just because you have that kind of childhood and it leads you into early adulthood where you have these kind of fixations. That doesn't mean that you can't overcome them at some point and then have a vanilla existence. You know what I mean? And I can understand not wanting to have that vanilla existence for saying, look, I'm not hurting anybody, it's fine, you know. But I think that his rehabilitation shows that even a guy that was really fucking into eating other dudes was able to kind of overcome that kink or whatever.
Sure.
And now and he'll probably never be fucking normal because he's got to live with the guilt of what he did. You know what I
Right.
mean?
He ate somebody. I mean,
Right.
that's something you and I will never do. Well, I don't know about you, but
We'll see what
uh,
happens after the apocalypse. I might be king of the cannibals. You never know. We walk around with an infant skull as a fanny pack.
I would do it. I would eat somebody. I would do it if there was a way for. I mean, just even without the apocalypse, like if there's a way to get somebody to consent to it. Actually, there's this really weird story. I'm not going to get too much into it about a guy who had his leg chopped off, and because he got into an accident or something, it was amputated, and he was able to take it home, and they actually made it a big deal, and they cooked the meat and prepared it and made tacos out of it and ate it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I would do that.
I would. I have no desire. I honestly, I don't know if I'll ever become vegetarian, but I think that the whole meat, I don't know. We're
It's so
omnivores.
weird because I pretty much, I mean, well, and I know, and you're like, I would never be a vegetarian, but like, I'm a pescatarian. I don't eat red meat, and I would eat a person.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Given the right circumstances, though, if I was there, I would do it.
I've put weirder shit in my mouth. I guess it's not that big of a deal.
Well, on that note, would you guys eat a person? Would you? I'll start a poll.
And then completely erase it if it starts going in the opposite direction.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's what you want to think, that's what happened. No, the first poll didn't make sense. It didn't make sense it didn't actually cover what I wanted to portray. So I just redid it because it wasn't making any sense.
It's all good, boo. Don't worry about it.
You just don't want to. I don't know. You just want to start some shit. You want to fight, Pat?
No.
Oh well.
I don't want to lose. It'd be very public and embarrassing.
That's true. Either one or two things is going to happen. Either people are going to hate you because you lost to a girl, or they're going to hate you because you beat up a girl. So
right, it's no win.
So I already won. Yay!
Right.
Anyway, okay. Well, on that note, I don't think I have anything else to say. You got anything else to say about it?
Nope.
I don't have anything else to say about it. So, without further ado, guys, we will see you back here next Wednesday.